Now we're going to talk about pronouns. Okay, here's an example. Despite anti-suffrage objections, the suffrage movement finally achieved its ultimate goal, but only after offering its participants a political education and a sense of taking an active role in the nation's history, which in turn helped to convince the rest of the country's worth of the women's vote. Sorry, that's a long sentence. That's a super long sentence. But let's look at this specifically. Despite anti-suffrage objections, the suffrage movement achieved its ultimate goal. So the "its" has to do with the movement. So using "its" is definitely correct because it's singular. Movement, the suffrage movement is one thing, it's singular. So we can knock out the theirs. We're either talking about its ultimate goal. Is this a description or is it possessive? So because it's possessive, it is the goal of the movement, then it's no change. It's already correct. It has the apostrophe that tells me that it's possessive of the goal. So my pronoun is correct. It's singular possessive. These are the types of problems that you will see that we're going to go through with agreement. So there are three forms that pronouns can go towards. So there's the subjective, when the pronoun's in the subject. There's the objective, when it's used as the object of a verb or a preposition. Or finally, the possessive, something that expresses ownership. So looking at the following list, you can see the examples of the different type of pronouns that we are looking at. I'm not going to read all of them. There's a ton, but you can see in the example, the who, whom, and whose is all something that's going to show you who and its three types of forms. So when who is the verb, or it's when who is the subject, it's who. When it's the objective, so what it's talking about, it's whom. And when it's possessive, it's whose. So here's some example of incorrect and correct pronoun antecedent agreement. So the selection of books was placed in their designated location is not correct. The selection of books was placed in its designated location is correct. Sapling. The sapling, along with dozens of flowers, was relocated to where they would thrive. The sapling, along with dozens of flowers, was relocated where it would thrive. So with these pronoun antecedent agreements, you need to look for two things. Is it plural or is it singular? Kind of like the verbs. Are we talking about one person? Or are we talking about multiple people? And then you also need to be looking at, is it in the subject, is it in the object, or is it in the possessive? Because that's going to change what form of the word that you are going to be using. Now you're going to look at a couple of practice.